All right, everybody, welcome to the rooting guide for week 15. And this is going to be a very important week for the Seahawks. As near as I can tell, this is more or less the last stand. If things don't go well this week, then a lot of people, and to a large extent, I would even include myself in that category, will have to shift into draft mode where we're going to at least have to concede that wins after week 15 are not really going to mean that much. The Seahawks either need to win or have some results go in their favor during the lead up to our game. So this is kind of the last stand. And I know I said it was the last stand of the Seahawks a couple weeks ago, but this is really the last stand. And I say that partially because the Eagles aren't playing so good lately, but I also say it because we got a huge shot in the arm from Tommy DeVito last Monday night. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna. There's still stuff to play for here. I'm not getting on Team Tank. I got no interest in intentionally losing games right now for a draft pick to get a player who isn't really going to help anything. He's not going to fix anything. There's no player we're going to be able to get in the draft that swings in here on a chandelier and just fixes all our problems and makes us great again. Like, that's not happening. So, I'd rather us win games. I'd rather us find our way in these last 4 weeks. I'd rather go into the offseason with some reason to believe that there was some kind of breakthrough on the part of this regime, and now they get it. And to me, that's more valuable than any draft pick. Because the reality is, I don't think this regime is going anywhere this offseason. If you could convince me that maybe that's not the case, I might reconsider. I might. But for now, I don't think that's a game that we can win. So I'm going to focus on the game that we can win. All right, so that being said, we are going to have some games like this Thursday night game, which is a crime against humanity, and quite frankly, doesn't really have anything to do with the Seahawks. However, I got one thing. I got one thing to say about this game, and it's thin and it's unlikely to matter, but the only value this game provides is the potential, I'll say, tank value. It's not really a tank. Nobody really tanks in the NFL. That's not a real thing. But you can see that the Chargers actually have a pretty decent strength of schedule, and the Raiders have a lower strength of schedule. So if the Chargers win and the Seahawks lose, we will then be picking above the Chargers because of their slightly stronger strength of schedule. So we want the Chargers to win just for that purpose. That's all I got. It's super thin, guys. And then we get 3 games on Saturday. We got 3 games on Saturday, December 16th. We got the Vikings playing the Bengals. That's a pretty decent one. A little bit of playoff stakes on the line here. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear. We got AFC on NFC. You're going to root for the AFC team most of the time. The Bengals are obviously fighting for a playoff spot in the AFC, which kind of plays to our advantage. But the big one here is just Minnesota. If the Minnesota could get knocked out of the wild card picture a little bit with a loss in a game like this, that would be substantial. So that's an easy one. Bengals, do your worst. And then we got another Saturday game. Steelers going to Indy to play the Colts. Both teams have the same record, so playoff wise, there's no real difference. I guess the main difference is the Colts might are I guess the Colts are slightly more likely to win their division, but I'm not even really thinking about that. We play the Steelers this year, so I guess for strength of schedule purposes, we want the Steelers to win, but it's pretty dang even if we're being honest. And then we got Broncos Lions. Again, we're not catching the Lions, and even if we do, it doesn't matter because we're not winning our division. The Lions are going to win their division almost certainly, so I'm not sitting here thinking like, oh, we're going to have a better record than the Lions or we're going to have the same record as the Lions, win the tiebreaker. No, that has no value at this point. The only value here is that potential third round pick from the Broncos. And as of right now, the pick would probably come from the Broncos. So, yeah, I actually think we want the Lions to win this one. Although, again, this one's thin. Doesn't really have a lot to do with the Seahawks trying to accomplish things this season. Okay, so that gets us to Sunday here. Obviously, going to be fewer games because there's so much going on Saturday. Kind of cool to have Saturday football, by the way, since college is effectively over, except for bowl games. Got the Bears and the Browns. The Bears are kind of sort of alive in the playoff picture, but you tap them with the butt of your rifle and they're going to be downed. So if the Browns could do that, knock them to 9 losses, that would pretty much do it. 9 losses would pretty much take them out. So if the Browns could just finish the job, solidify themselves in the playoff picture in the AFC, that plays to our favor a little bit, just because it helps keeps the Broncos out potentially. But the main real value here, and again, this is very, very minor, just get the Bears to go away. Buccaneers at Packers is a very interesting game, and I think we want the Buccaneers to find a way to win, which with the way the Packers are playing, I mean, they're a random team. Every game the Packers play, it feels like they just stick their hand in a random number generator and pull out random ping pong balls, and if it's odd, they win. If it's even, they lose. I don't know what's up with that Packers team, but if Tampa Bay could pull it off, admittedly, I don't really like making that NFC South so muddy. I'd rather some of those teams go away, but the Packers pose a bigger problem right now. The Packers just plain pose a bigger problem because they're going to have some tiebreakers over Seattle that are going to be hard to undo. So, yeah, rooting for Tampa Bay to find a way. Texans versus Titans. Again, this is just going to be one of those games where we want the Texans to keep that Arizona first round pick down. So we want them to find a way to get it done. I don't know if Stroud's playing. I don't know if Dalton Schultz is playing yet, but hopefully they are because Tennessee's moving in the right direction. Now, if the Titans win, that does help our strength of schedule slightly. It boosts it just a tiny bit, but I don't think that value is really enough to outweigh the fact that Houston's sending their first round pick to Arizona. And also, it's another team in the AFC that may get a playoff spot. So there's little pieces of advantages there that just outweigh the strength of schedule argument. All right, Jets, Dolphins. Not really a heck of a lot here. I mean, the Jets are 5-8, so tanking wise, if you're just looking at it from that perspective, I mean, the Jets, they're only one game behind us. They do have a slightly weaker strength of schedule, but that could change. So I guess we want the Jets to win. I guess. That's all I got though. Just that draft pick argument. That's really all there is to it. So I guess we want the Jets to win, but I had to dig kind of deep to find that one. Chiefs versus Patriots. Again, I think it behooves us to have New England get the highest pick possible. And it also behooves us for Kansas City to keep winning so they win that division to make it harder for Denver to get in so that pick we get from them potentially is higher. And again, this is AFC on AFC, so you kind of have to dig deep for justifications to root for anything because most of it doesn't involve you. Another 10 a.m. game, we got the Giants going to the Saints. Once again, we are calling on Danny, or excuse me, I almost said Danny DeVito, of course, Tommy DeVito, to give us a hand. And it is playing with fire just a little bit here, admittedly, because the Giants are now alive in the playoff picture, but they still have to play the Eagles twice. Hard for me to believe that the Eagles are going to let Tommy DeVito continue to get away with this. So I'm going to say that gets taken care of later on, and we need him to come through against the Saints. Send that potential Saints third round pick further up the chart, knock a potential NFC playoff contender down a notch, and if the Giants do actually make a run the table and make a playoff run here, then God bless them. Honestly, God bless them. That's more fun than most of the other outcomes anyway. Falcons, Panthers. As of right now, the Panthers have a significant lead for the number one pick that they're sending to the Bears. So we can afford for them to win a game here. And if they could knock Atlanta down a notch and kind of weed things out in the NFC South, that would be great. So definitely rooting for the Panthers in that one. Also, there's also a little bit of an element of oh no, I'm sorry. I was thinking about the wrong thing there. I had it flipped there. But yeah, we do definitely want the Panthers to win. Commanders, Rams, that's a slam dunk. Commanders got flushed already. The Rams, they linger around. And if a team like the Commanders could find a way to beat this annoying team, this team that is going to be there's a scenario here where the Seahawks lose to the Eagles, win out, go 9-8, and they don't get in because of the Rams, and that's going to be the most annoying scenario possible. So if somebody like the Commanders wants to tip over their apple cart, I sure would appreciate it. 49ers at Cardinals doesn't really mean that much to us anymore on the 49ers side because they've already clinched. But hey, I'm going to root for the Cardinals to win most of their games to get that pick down a little bit. Right now they're sitting at 3. They win another game, they get it down to 4 probably, if assuming Washington does lose. And then there's some crazy things that could happen here. So, may as well. Seems like a lost cause, but you got to try. Cowboys, Bills. We're not catching the Cowboys, so there's not really a lot of value there, but may as well still root for the Bills, I guess. Again, they're another AFC playoff contender that can make things less likely for the Broncos to get in, so that affects the pick. That's honestly the main value here because the Cowboys are clearly going to make the playoffs. It's not like we can knock them out of the wild card spot. And then finally, we got Ravens, Jaguars. Strength of schedule says we want the Ravens to win. I guess that's really about it here. So let's go with that, I guess. And of course, Monday night, the Seahawks play. Okay, that's it for the rooting guide for the week. There's a lot to balance here. There's a lot to juggle here. But for the moment, I am still focused in on how this team can right the ship and do something positive with this season. But if things don't go our way this week, it might be time. See you guys later. Go Hawks.